Sovereignty just won the Kentucky Derby, but can he win the Triple Crown? Stick around and find out. Hi, everyone. Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets, along with my colleague Kaylie Shapiro, who's going to be catching some winning tickets from this Kentucky Derby. But listen, we are going to be asking the question that everybody asked as soon as a horse crosses the wire first in the Kentucky Derby is, can they win the Triple Crown? And we're going to be talking about Sovereignty's chances of winning the Triple Crown here in the next few minutes. But before we get to that, I want to remind you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost, just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, as well as all of our Preakness and Triple Crown coverage that we have coming up. Now, Kaylie, you have been on Sovereignty for, since October, the street sense, going back to Churchill Downs in his 2-year-old year. So this was a horse you've always been incredibly high on, but we watched this race together with some of our colleagues, and while there was a lot of excitement as soon as he crossed the wire first, one of the things you said within probably 30 seconds is, I think this horse can win the Triple Crown. What gives you that sort of confidence?
I was super excited when the horse won the race, but I do believe that, why can't he win the Triple Crown?
Yeah.
I just saw him put away arguably one of the best 3-year-olds in the country, or if not the best 3-year-old in the country in journalism. So I definitely think that he has a shot. So long as Mott and Godolphin decide that it's right to send the horse and that he can have that quick of a turnaround, I think that he has a really good shot. If he gets a true pace like he got today, an honest pace, why can't he win the Preakness? And then after that, he would have to win the Belmont, which obviously, if he's going to get pace there too, he also has a good shot. Now that this horse has a target on his back, he was flying a bit under the radar prior to the Derby.
Yeah.
Journalism was really the horse. So,
and even Sandman was getting a lot more.
Sandman. So now people know that this horse is just as serious and has as big, or if not a better late kick than that field of truly quality horses that he just faced. I'm trying to think of who's better than journalism and who's better than Baeza.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the conversation starts. Who's going to show up to the Preakness? Do you
that is the big question?
That's better than journalism or Baeza?
Right. No, I think that you're absolutely right. That's the big question: is who shows up to the Preakness? Does a horse like journalism or Baeza, do they stay on the East Coast and do they decide to run in the second leg? Usually that's not what happens. California horses usually go back to California after the Derby if they don't win. And so it'll be interesting to see what Michael McCarthy and John Sheriffs decide to do. The trainers for journalism and Baeza, who both ran very good second and third places, and would be thrilling to see them face off again at a slightly different distance, 1 3/16 at the Preakness. And obviously, though, the other dynamic is we have some new shooters who are going to be waiting in the wings. Now, you mentioned that Mott's going to circle up with Godolphin, make sure the horse is okay, but 2-week turnaround's not common in the sport of horse racing anymore. And the reality is that you have a horse like Gosker, you have a horse like potentially Rodriguez, maybe a Grande, although I feel like Grande's maybe more pointed towards the Belmont. But you have some other horses that might be waiting in the wings fresh to face Sovereignty in the Preakness. And that could be just a different dynamic and obstacle for him to overcome, facing some new, fresh horses.
I'm thinking so long, if Baffert sends Rodriguez, which is the plan, to the Preakness, obviously he's sending that horse. Everyone in that field is going to know that he's sending that horse. Any other horse that has speed is going to want to go with him and pressure him. There's going to be another on his pace, and it could set up for Sovereignty. I'm not saying that it's a given, but I am really trying to think of another horse that is likely to show up to the Preakness that has a late kick like Sovereignty. And I'm not saying that that's going to be the trip.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if it is won by a horse that's not on the lead and Baffert doesn't just go and, have a horse that gets away with soft fractions up on the front end, who has a late kick like Sovereignty? Or could come from mid-pack and close like Sovereignty? I'm trying to think of.
It would be a challenge. And one of the things about the Preakness that makes it so different is, the surface is a little bit different than what you see at Churchill Downs. There's always the myth about the tight turns of Pimlico. It's not really that much tighter. It's just the track configuration is a little bit different. But it is a little bit more of a speed favoring track a lot of times on big days. I remember when early voting went gate to wire a couple of years ago, and it was just a raceway up on the front end. And so it can be a little bit more challenging for horses to come from off the pace. under that circumstance. Bob Baffert, of course, has won the Preakness a record number of times, so he knows exactly how to do it. Now, he's done it a lot with horses that won the Kentucky Derby and then turned around and won the Preakness as well. So yeah,
it's really going to start with who Baffert sends, in my opinion. And if Gosker, like he's supposed to, shows up, because I think that horse is pretty serious too. But we did say the same thing when Sovereignty was heading to Gulfstream Park for the Fountain of Youth.
True.
And that's another track where it's speed favoring, and he was able to get the job done. I know in the Florida Derby he didn't, but he didn't need to. So I think it's possible. Sure, there's going to be challenges like there is for any great horse, or any horse. But I mean, I don't really think that the speed favoring track will have an effect on him so long as he gets a pace to run into.
Yeah, I think, and that's the other question, is how many horses show up at the Preakness? You know, that's always the thing, is you get 19 horses in the Derby this year, and then a fraction of that end up running at Pimlico. So the field size is going to matter too. That could both help and hurt Sovereignty, maybe in the same time. You know, if it's a shorter field, hey, there's less traffic for him to weave through. There's less issues for him to encounter. You mentioned, you know, he didn't have the best start today. You know, he clipped heels. He got pinched together at the start. It wasn't the cleanest trip, but he still managed to overcome it. So, you know, it could be easier, but a shorter field also means maybe less pace. Maybe just a little bit more they're loping along up front.
Sure.
And so, you know, it could go both ways. I think you could make the argument one way or the other in that instance, but going to be interesting to see if he can get to the Preakness. But one of the things I'll say, Kaylie, and you can speak to this a little bit, the last 3 years, I don't want to disparage the winners of the Kentucky Derby in terms of Rich Strike, Mage, and Mystic Dan. Sovereignty has a very different feel from those three horses, in that this is a horse that there has been intentionality behind this horse from the beginning. You know, I've told the story about Darwin Vizcaya, our colleague, coming up to me over the summer at Saratoga and saying, Bill Mott's got a horse, Sovereignty. Junior Alvarado loves him. You know, and then you saw him run in the street sense it too, and absolutely loved him. This is a horse that has some regal breeding and some expectations in a way that Rich Strike, Mage, and Mystic Dan were kind of upsets that didn't necessarily feel like they could sustain a Triple Crown run.
For sure. And very nice horses in their own right.
Absolutely.
But definitely, I mean, this horse is a quality horse that beat a field of quality horses. And that's, I mean, I think that this Derby was stronger than a lot of those years.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we had a lot of nice horses in that race today. And that was a nice horse that beat a whole bunch of world-class horses. So
absolutely he did. And it was a very formful result in a lot of ways. You know, you had Sovereignty win, you had Journalism run second, you had Baeza, who ended up being, I think, fifth or sixth choice, run third. So you had a lot of the top choices run their races and run really well. So that was great to see. Now the question is, if you get beyond the Preakness, then you got to go to the Belmont. And unlike past years, the Belmont is up at Saratoga. And it's 1.25 miles instead of 1.5 miles. Well, we just saw Sovereignty win in 1.25 miles. And Saratoga is Belmont's backyard.
And that's what I think makes this Triple Crown a little bit more possible.
Yeah.
It's in Saratoga this year.
Yeah. No, I think so. I mean, the 1.5 miles is such a grueling test. I mean, there's a reason why it's called the Test of Champions, because you've just run, you're going to run your third race in 5 weeks. And again, there's going to be new shooters there too. Horses like a Grande, probably whoever ends up winning the Peter Pan, perhaps in a couple of weeks, is going to end up running in that race too. So there's going to be new shooters at Belmont, and that's something that he'll have to deal with. But I feel like he can. We saw Sierra Leone come from off the pace last year and didn't win, but make up a lot of ground at Saratoga. So you can do that at the track.
And this is a more mature,
much
mentally sound version of Sierra Leone, and I think a little bit more talented too. And I think a little bit more tactical as well.
Oh, yeah, so, I would agree. Yeah, not nearly the head case that Sierra was. I mean, he's very professional. Sierra Leone,
but
but I mean, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, he and Sandman are very similar in that they're weaving all over the place. They're lugging in. They're having issues in the stretch that kind of sometimes keep them from running their best race. Sovereignty, I mean, both he and Journalism were running straight as an arrow coming down the stretch. I mean,
Baeza too.
Yeah,
those top three. I mean, I think we just saw that top three are a serious group of horses. They all really, really amazed me.
And what would be interesting is if Baeza and Sovereignty skip the Preakness, go back to California for a little bit, and then come back for the Belmont. And you see that sometimes too, where the horses will take the Preakness off, come back for the Belmont. And again, different dynamics. Now a horse is fresh, another horse is coming off, is running a little bit more of a grueling schedule that can get you. But, listen, Sovereignty is going to be coming from off the pace, and he certainly has the talent to win the Triple Crown. A lot of things have to line up. We've seen a lot of talented horses over the years lose the Triple Crown.
Of course, but
yeah.
So great to root for. A quality horse just won the Derby. So how amazing it is to root for a horse like that, and also to root for Bill Mott to win the Triple Crown.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen Bill Mott smile quite so much in my life. He looked about 15 years younger as soon as that horse crossed the wire first. I mean, it was really amazing to see him just so jubilant. He's usually so stoic and professional and really buttoned up, and just to see him so happy, it was just really moving. And
can't think of anyone more deserving.
No, it's hard pressed. I mean, I know you love him. He's one of my favorite trainers as well. And he's a great horseman. And you root for people like that in our sport because they always do right by the horse. So listen, it's going to be a tough task for him to do it, but he's got the talent to do it. I think that's what makes it an exciting question to ask. Yep. And historically, like I said, we've seen great horses come up short, but he's got the talent to be able to do it. It's just a matter of whether he can get the setup in some of these races. Mm-hmm. And what'll also be interesting to see is, remember, he didn't necessarily get a huge setup in the Fountain of Youth that he won down at Gulfstream Park. It wasn't like they were going huge early fractions in that race. He had a short stretch to overcome. He's a much more tactical, to your point. Junior's really learned how to ride him well, and he can get him to move early if he needs to. And he did that a little bit today in the Derby. You saw you even said it watching the replay. He made one long sustained run.
Yeah, he did. As soon as Junior asked him, that horse was gone. And a lot of horses ahead of him had first jump. Yeah. That horse, all he had to do was stay in one fluid motion and run his race. That's it.
He really did. I mean, it felt very inevitable at the top of the stretch. As well positioned as journalism was, you kind of had a sense Sovereignty was going to get by him. And of course he did. That was a thrilling race. I hope that we can get 2 more thrilling races like that. And, selfishly for us up in New York, I hope Sovereignty shows up at Belmont at Saratoga with a hope for the Triple Crown on the line, because that would be absolutely amazing, the atmosphere and the dynamics going into that. But listen, I think, you probably think he has a better chance than I do, but I still think he's got a good chance. He's got a better chance than any horse, certainly in recent memory. I mean, obviously going back to Justify winning the Triple Crown, but, honestly, going back to Justify, I don't know if I felt this confident about a horse being able to win the Triple Crown since him.
Well, that's promising.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's not a true reason to believe that he couldn't. So it's really nice to root for. Hopefully the stars align and that they do decide to send him to the Preakness.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. It's a great story for the sport and a great day of racing at Churchill Downs. But listen, folks, we're going to have a lot more Preakness content for you. We're going to have contender spotlights. We're going to be doing some, preview analysis of the big race. We're going to talk about the Black-Eyed Susan. Of course, got to talk about Black-Eyed Susan. You can't forget about the fillies. So we're going to have a lot of fun with all of that leading up here. So make sure to press that like and subscribe button on NYRA Bets. Now, I got to let this one go cash some winning tickets. But for Kaylie Shapiro, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it's now post time.